Tonight on Dispatches, I'm going on a Coca-Cola challenge to investigate what the world's biggest brand is up to.
They should have the same standards everywhere, no matter where they go, regardless of what the laws of the different countries says.
For the past 3 years, I've investigated a global force in the marketplace that's faced persistent but strenuously denied allegations concerning safety of workers, protests over pollution and depletion of water supplies, child labour, and controversial neuromarketing. That company is Coca-Cola. So where better to start the Coca-Cola challenge than here in Atlanta, USA, at the official repository of Coca-Cola history. This is the world of Coca-Cola, and I'm on a guided tour.
Thank you for calling the world of Coca-Cola. We're excited to hear from you.
Your first name?
Mark.
Mark. So,
How long have you worked with Coca-Cola?
what?
How long have you worked here?
16 years.
But because my guide doesn't know I'm making a program, we've disguised him.
Okay, now we're going to go over here.
Coca-Cola is a company that sells 1.4 billion drinks every day, and advertising has always been vital to that success. Santa Claus will be forever set in the company colours of red and white after the Coke ads in the 30s. But there are some myths and misunderstandings surrounding the Coca-Cola story.
This is Dr. Pemberton. This is the man who started Coca-Cola in 1886.
Did it have cocaine in it at that time?
No, there's no cocaine in Coca-Cola. That's why we call it Coca-Cola. Otherwise, we call it cocaine.
No, but there was. I thought that there was right early on.
In the world, you know, it's almost like the rumor, you know, Loch Ness.
Actually, there was cocaine in Coca-Cola. The Coca refers to the coca leaf. Customers referred to the drink as dope. And Pemberton, the inventor, was a morphine addict, a junkie. But if you're peddling a history of friendship and joy, it doesn't help if your founding father could have appeared in Trainspotting. The cocaine was removed at the turn of the last century. Coca-Cola's commercial success can be attributed to Asa Candler, who bought the company from Pemberton in 1891 and began to aggressively market the drink.
He would advertise. He would make the drink available, and he would encourage people to sell it more than anything else. So those three things put in motion made Coca-Cola what it is today.
As Coca-Cola headed for its global domination, it seems apposite that they rubbed shoulders with another group of global domineers.
That's 1936, though, isn't it? Which is the rise of the Nazis.
Well, you know, the Coca-Cola Company, we don't climb into all the political things that the world embraces. We simply want to sell soft drink.
Yeah.
So occasionally some things go a little to the dark side, but then everything comes right back up. You know, so we're happy about that.
When you say it went to the dark side, what do you mean?
Well, you know, it's like Star Wars. You know, learn the way of the Force, Luke. You know, you have the Force, and you have the dark side of the Force. Yeah. So you know, every once in a while things get a little shady out there, but you know, it comes back up.
One of Coca-Cola's trips to the dark side begins with supporting the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the Nazi Olympics. While Britain was at war with Germany, Coca-Cola was still doing business behind enemy lines. Advertising itself alongside the Nazi regime. As America entered the Second World War, the German bottler could no longer get hold of the sugar syrup to make Coca-Cola, so it invented a new drink for the Nazi market. That drink was Fanta.
This is a copy of an advert from the Hitler Youth booklets that were handed out to the Hitler Youth. This is the Hitler Youth service booklet, and on the back, as you can see, was a Coca-Cola advert. Hitler Youth, Coca-Cola. I doubt very much whether that's the message that will be portrayed within the world of Coca-Cola. So I'm trying to put in the fact that Coca-Cola Germany did advertise with the Nazis and the Nazi press and the Nazi army. I'm going to try and put that into the museum in a minute and see how far I get. Can I ask who's the senior person?
Manager?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi there. What it is, can I show you what it is? Coca-Cola used to advertise with the Nazis. We had one of the artworks. This is from, that's from an old Hitler Youth booklet. This is the Hitler, it says my booklet. This is my service record. It's a Hitler Youth service booklet, and it's got a Coca-Cola advert on the side. Because I just think it's out of fairness that you should show, that the museum should show both sides of it. Do you see what I mean?
We'll give it to him.
Thank you ever so much. I do appreciate that.
I returned to check to see if they'd displayed my copy of Coca-Cola's Nazi advertisement, and you know they hadn't. Give Coca-Cola's empire a good shake, and it's not just the odd Nazi that comes tumbling out. Just down the road in Atlanta is Auburn Avenue, the heart of the civil rights movement, a movement Coca-Cola has a troubled history with.
I'm outside the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, which is the church that Martin Luther King Jr. used to co-pastor with his father. And in fact, you can hear his speeches being played on a public address system just across the way on this little plaza. In fact, in the last speech that Martin Luther King made, the day before he was killed, on the 4th of April 1968, Martin Luther King made this amazing speech. And in it, he actually called for a boycott of the Coca-Cola company, and we're going to find out why.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. travelled to Memphis to back a boycott of companies deemed to be discriminating against black workers. Here, he made one of his most iconic speeches, known as I Have Been to the Mountaintop.
Always anchor our external direct action. And so as a result of this, we're asking you tonight to go out and tell your neighbors not to buy Coca-Cola in Memphis.
One of the people carrying on King's work is Reverend Joseph Lowry, his friend and co-founder of the civil rights movement. He is so revered in Atlanta, the boulevard we're driving down is named after him. He explains the boycott of Coca-Cola.
In Atlanta, we had engaged in activities and protests against Coca-Cola, which had considerable business support from the black community. They did not hire blacks in important, gainful positions. The people in charge of the transactions were always white. The people who did the heavy work were always black. Their income was considerably lower.
Coca-Cola now says it is anti-discrimination on the basis of race, sex, colour, national or social origin. So the boycott worked. Or was it really that easy? In 2000, in the largest settlement ever in a racial discrimination case, Coca-Cola agreed to pay nearly $200 million to settle a federal lawsuit brought by employees. But that didn't stop Coca-Cola promoting itself through civil rights in this 2007 advertisement celebrating black history. There's no mention of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s call for a boycott of Coca-Cola here. In fact, they directly associate themselves with the iconic leader.
I would hope that Coca-Cola would operate by certain ethical and moral standards of doing business all over the world, wherever they operate. To the extent that they don't do this, I say shame on them.
Coca-Cola is the world's most popular fizzy drink and is sold in nearly every country. It promises to be an, quote, outstanding corporate citizen in every community we serve. So the next stop on my global challenge is here, India, where local farmers have been beaten by police for protesting outside Coca-Cola bottling plants against what they claim is water depletion by the bottlers.
नहीं बस ठंडा पानी
की क्या ठंडा तो हेलो और ठंडा पीने दे बहाने आई कुड़ी ठंडा
Which has made this advertisement by Bollywood superstar Amir Khan all the more controversial as he pulls Coca-Cola from the well.
तुसी great हो
जी यार आदा टशन
ठंडा मतलब कोका-कोला
3 years ago, I visited villagers in Plasmada, Kerala, who complained their water was being sucked dry by Coke's bottlers.
This is the well. OK.
This farmer's well is right next door to the plant.
How high would the water level normally be?
The water used to be up to here, earlier.
The farmer needs this water for his crops, but he says the basin, once full, is now nearly empty. He blames the Coca-Cola bottler next door. We attract the attention of the security guards.
They want to see how the Coke plant operates. We couldn't go inside, so we are taking it from outside.
When I was a nipper, we used to nip over places like this and nick the bottles and then get the refunds. That'd be worth a fortune. The Coca-Cola factory aren't going to let us in, so this is the nearest we can get to it.
It takes 2.5 litres of water to make a litre of Coca-Cola. The bottler often taps directly into underground aquifers to access water that the local population also rely on. Water has become so scarce, Coca-Cola is actually trucking water to these villages and to others in the region. But Coca-Cola consumes 290 billion litres of water a year around the world. So Coca-Cola has pledged to become water neutral by the year 2010. That means only taking water it can replace. That pledge doesn't seem likely to stop this kind of protest. And that doesn't affect the second controversy to surround Coca-Cola in India. Claims that pesticides at levels above the European limits were found in colas, including Coca-Cola.
पिछले दिनों कई लोगों ने मुझसे पूछा है कि इतने सारे विवादों के बावजूद मुझे कोका कोला पर विश्वास क्यों है? क्यों मैं अब तक उनके साथ हूं? क्या मुझे फिक्र नहीं कि मैं आपसे क्या पीने को कह रहा हूं? फिक्र है, बिल्कुल है। और इसीलिए पूरी तसल्ली करने के बाद ही मैं आपके सामने आया हूं।
Coca-Cola strenuously denied the pesticide claims and went on a PR battle, turning Bollywood star Amir Khan from actor to activist.
एक नहीं, दो नहीं, पूरे 6 स्टेज फिल्टरेशन प्रोसेस से। और यहां तक कि चीनी जो कोका कोला में यूज होती है, उसे विशेष हॉट कार्बन ट्रीटमेंट से शुद्ध किया जाता है। आप जब चाहें कोका कोला की किसी भी फैक्ट्री में खुद आकर अपनी आंखों से देख सकते हैं। कोका कोला पूरी तरह सुरक्षित है, एकदम सेफ। तो जब भी मन करे बेफिक्र होकर पीजिए और एंजॉय कीजिए।
Despite Coca-Cola's protestations, the Indian government's test this year confirmed the presence of pesticide in colas. Yet Coca-Cola India has won, amongst other awards, the prestigious Golden Peacock 3 years running. It's presented by the World Environmental Foundation, and Coca-Cola appears to be the sponsor. But it's accusations that Coca-Cola is still failing in its ethical and moral standards that has led to the most recent call for a global boycott. In the last decade, a powerful right-wing paramilitary group, the AUC Black Eagles, has killed 9 men working for Coca-Cola FEMSA, which owns the Colombian bottling plants, specifically because those men belong to a union. In January, the Black Eagles issued this threat.
The paramilitaries of Magdalena Medio, the Black Eagles, call on the terrorist Coca-Cola trade unionists to stop bad-mouthing the Coca-Cola Corporation, given that they have caused enough damage already. If there is no response, we declare them military targets of the Black Eagles, and they will be dealt with as they prefer. Death, torture, cut into pieces, coup de grace. No more protests.
I came to Colombia in 2004 as part of my Coca-Cola challenge. This is Luis Eduardo Garcia. Luis has worked for Coca-Cola for 26 years, despite death threats. He claims Coca-Cola FEMSA has done nothing to protect him.
there's been paramilitary activity that's affected your family. What was your experience?
In 2002, I was delivering Coca-Cola when two armed men came and put a gun to my head, and they told me my time had come. The owner of the shop saved my life because he pulled my shirt and threw me into the shop. I told the company and asked them to put me in a less risky job. But Coca-Cola has done nothing to keep me alive.
Colombia is a dangerous place for trade unionists. Right-wing paramilitaries murder about 200 a year, including Coca-Cola bottler employees. One once told me to be a trade unionist here is to carry a tombstone on your back.
These stories are real. We are the ones living with them for real. We are the victims of this situation. We demand that Coca-Cola help us and repair the harm that has been done to us. They have to allow those responsible to be punished, and they need to create a code of ethics whereby Coca-Cola respects the rights of its workers.
Just this month, Luis Garcia and a colleague received this letter from the Black Eagles.
We give you the opportunity to leave the country. We combat guerrilla and communist ideology with death. The military target is getting closer, and we confirm that it will be in a common grave. Obey to save your life.
I've joined a bus full of union members and promptly become entangled in a protest march. Caught behind police lines, our progress slows to a crawl, and at the back of the bus, I find long-standing Coca-Cola employee and union leader, Efrain.
In 2003, a letter was sent to our union headquarters that threatened me directly against my name. They threatened me because I belong to the union.
Efrain faces constant danger. He has a bodyguard and a driver. They protected Efrain, but they couldn't protect his family.
On the 19th of April 2004, two men turned up at my wife's family home. And they killed my brother-in-law, his wife, and my 15-year-old nephew. The gunmen then went to my cousin's house and shot my cousin dead.
In 2004, a New York City councillor led a fact-finding delegation to Colombia. It found that workers for the Coca-Cola bottlers were victims of at least 179 major human rights violations and 9 murders, including this man, Isidro Segundo Gil, who was shot dead inside the Coca-Cola plant.
The physical access the paramilitaries have had to Coca-Cola bottling plants is impossible without company knowledge and/or tacit approval. Coca-Cola's inaction and its ongoing refusal to take any responsibility for the human rights crisis faced by its workforce in Colombia demonstrates at best disregard for the lives of its workers.
2 Colombian judicial inquiries found no evidence of collusion by the bottler management to intimidate or threaten trade unionists. Tim Beattie, whose union, the Teamsters, represents 30,000 Coke workers, says the company is in talks over compensation for Colombian victims, but he remains critical.
Coke attempts to separate any responsibility it has from the behavior of its bottlers and other subsidiaries inside the system. The Coca-Cola company was saying, hey, we've got nothing to do with this. This is a bottler and they're totally responsible and we don't have any control or responsibility. We were able to say, no, wait a minute, there is a linkage between what the Coca-Cola company does in Atlanta and what its bottlers do around the country and around the world.
In protest to the murders in Colombia, a campaign was launched calling for a global boycott of Coca-Cola, called Killer Coke. over 45 universities have kicked Coke off campus, including Sussex, Manchester, and 4 colleges from Oxford University. The company has promised an independent inquiry, but Tim Beattie remains sceptical it will happen.
The PR folks that are in charge don't want their brand name tarnished in any way, and so if you can move it off the front page, make it something that's not so newsworthy, or confuse the topic in some way, or send it off to a next study, then this is a way for the PR people to try and avoid the challenge to the behavior of the company.
Coca-Cola says that the threats and assassinations of the Colombian Union members is not its responsibility because they are employed by Coca-Cola FEMSA and not employed directly by Coca-Cola. Yet Coca-Cola owns more than 30% of Coca-Cola FEMSA, and some of its top executives also sit on the Coca-Cola FEMSA board. Despite denials and promises to investigate, these images haunt Coca-Cola. Latin America is Coca-Cola's 3rd largest market. My next stop on the Coca-Cola Challenge is El Salvador, where pop and moustaches go together in a way not seen since Freddie Mercury's heyday. This is a country that was at war up until 1992, massive civil war, 300,000 people were killed. It's just beginning to get back on its feet. We're here to find out what Coca-Cola are up to. And this is my favourite statue. And this is the Statue of Justice. As you can see, somebody's nicked part of the scales. Sugar is important, as each 330 milliliter can of Coca-Cola contains 8 teaspoons of it. And sugar is something El Salvador has plenty of. It is the country's 2nd biggest export after coffee. So I'm heading to the countryside to see Coca-Cola's supplier in action, and it's harvest time. I'm in Sonsonate, and behind me you can see the sugar cane that's been burnt before people come in and crop it. This is the sugar cane that will go to the sugar mill that is used by Coca-Cola. This is where Coke gets its sugar from. It's just after dawn, and I return unannounced to the plantation. Now the foliage has been burnt back, making it easier for the cutters to get to the cane, the harvesting begins. This is dangerous work. The cane cutters, the cañeros, use machetes. The plant has a sap that irritates the skin, and there are poisonous snakes. So by law, all workers must be over 18 years old. This is Jonathan. He's reluctant to talk.
¿Cuántos años tenés?
10.
Jonathan arrived before dawn to begin stacking the burnt cane.
¿Y cuánto tiempo pasas aquí, Jonathan? Ajá.
In 2004, the International Labour Organization said as many as 30,000 children are believed to be employed in sugarcane cultivation in El Salvador. They miss school and risk injury cutting and stacking cane that's destined for the largest sugar mill, Central Izalco. This is the bus that Izalco bring the workers to, and there's a certain irony that there's a school bus, there's a couple of children working in the fields over there. The workers we were talking to said that they get paid about $1.50 per tonne of sugar cane that they cut, and they can do about 4 tonnes a day, which is why they bring the children along, because the kids will help and contribute by stacking the stuff up, and it means that you get more done in a day, and as a family you earn more. That's why they do it. One of Central Izalco's biggest clients is Coca-Cola. The sugar cane cut illegally by children goes to make Coca-Cola's drinks. Let's just see how many children we can find working in other plantations around here.
things that's absolutely for certain is that there are children. There are quite clearly children working on this plantation. They're quite clearly working for Izalco. Izalco is quite clearly supplying sugar for Coca-Cola.
It is not only dangerous, but it's illegal to employ children. So as we approach, warnings are yelled for the underage boy to flee. But act casually as you go. Our presence seems to have some effect. There are no great surprises who the cane is cut for. We followed this truck from the plantation where the children were working to Coca-Cola's supplier, Central Izalco. This isn't the first time child labour has contributed to the making of Coca-Cola. In 2004, Human Rights Watch said that if Coca-Cola wanted to avoid complicity in child labour, it should recognise its responsibility to respect human rights.
Coca-Cola were confronted with the Human Rights Watch reports that showed the allegations of child labour in the for the sugar plantations that supplied Izalco their sugar mill.
When we put our allegations to them, the company responded with this statement.
Coca-Cola firmly opposes child labour. 9,000 children have been removed from the sugarcane fields in El Salvador over the last 3 years through our efforts with the UN and the Sugar Association. There's more work to be done, but we've made tremendous progress in understanding and addressing the root cause of this serious issue. We only buy from sugar mills that adhere to our standards, and we constantly monitor for compliance. If we find a supplier is not meeting our standards, we take immediate action. We strive, wherever we operate, to meet the highest workplace health and environmental standards.
In 2004, Central Izalco told Human Rights Watch that there were no children working in its supplier plantations. When we told them of our findings this year, we received this response from the Association of Sugar Producers of El Salvador.
The incidence of child labor in the sugarcane fields of El Salvador has decreased by more than 85% in the last few years, thanks to the work carried out at a national level between the government of El Salvador, the International Labour Organization, NGOs and the sugar-producing agro-industry, all and everyone whose members condemns and does not permit child labor.
Sugar cut by these children goes to this mill and then ends up here at Coca-Cola's bottling plant in Najapa to be added to the drink. I'm waiting to meet the local mayor. He says he welcomed the multinational to open a plant in his town, but on 4 conditions: that the Coca-Cola bottler provide jobs, sponsor the local football team, pay its taxes and care for the environment.
They broke their promise. They say they were a company which is friendly towards the environment. If they invested just 1% of their advertising budget in Nejapa, this would be a wealthy and much improved place. That would be their best advertisement, a large company arriving in a town and making it better. They could do that and it wouldn't affect them at all. They could say, we live in a place where everyone wins.
This is the place that Coca-Cola came to opening their bottling plant, and you think with the amount of money that they've got, £1 billion a year to spend on advertising, you know, they really could help people who look like they don't earn much over $1 a day.
This is a small rural community with a whopping great Coca-Cola plant in the middle of it. Those black pools of water are the water treatment plant. According to the local councillor, the river turns the same colour as the pools with the overspill from the factory.
I have attended meetings with the community, and Coca-Cola have made the comment that there will be a 100% improvement in pollution. But words are one thing, action is another. We see the reality in the water, in the stream, although they try to deny it.
I have documents from the council asking the Coca-Cola bottler 3 times to stop polluting the water. The council says they never responded. Daniel Martinez is the ex-chemical engineer for Nahapa Council. This drain comes directly from Coca-Cola's bottling plant. He says that initially the council couldn't afford to get Coca-Cola's wastewater independently tested. Instead, they had to rely on the Coca-Cola bottler providing them with their results.
They were pretty amazing, unbelievable. I mean, the results that they will show us, they will demonstrate that Coca-Cola was basically sending pure, clean, drinkable water. You didn't bring gloves.
I didn't bring gloves. I should have brought gloves.
Now, you were just down there on that water, and your arms were itching.
Yeah.
Now, that's the same water that has been coming out of this plant all these years.
The local community who depend on this river for drinking and washing complained of developing skin rashes, and the fish have died. Daniel Martinez didn't believe the bottler's test results.
You feel compromised with the community. At the same time, you can't touch them. Remember, El Salvador doesn't have the laws that exist in Europe and the US and all the developed countries. Matter of fact, we don't even have a law regarding wastewaters.
I'm going to clean my arms.
An Englishman should never be without a germaline wipe.
The council eventually got its own water tests, and the results showed that biodegradable waste and chemicals were present in the river water at 5 times admissible levels. The council puts this down to the bottler.
So tell me, what exactly is it that makes the water contaminated in the process at the Coca-Cola plant?
They use caustic soda and soaps to clean their bottles. And that's what it gives the water the high pH. Now, the other contaminants that it gets is from the process itself. That is sugar mostly. The problem is that to be biodegradable, they absorb the oxygen that is on the water.
Which is why the fish died.
Exactly.
So when people were telling us that the fish died when Coca-Cola hit, it's because all of that stuff to degrade just takes the oxygen and there's nothing left in the water.
Exactly. And the fish die. It dies suffocated. They drown.
I try and speak to the management at the Coca-Cola plant.
Can we do it pressure here? Buenas tardes, ¿qué le podemos servir?
Buenas tardes. Hi, my name's Mark Thomas from Channel 4 Television in Britain.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mark Thomas del Canal 4 de una cadena británica.
They will only allow my translator and me in without any cameras. Once we get inside, we are told to sit down and wait for a phone to ring. Meanwhile, it's worth mentioning that the locals no longer feel safe drinking the water from the river. These taps supply water shipped in and paid for by the municipality of Nahapa. Back inside the plant, the phone rang and someone gave me the very important message that no one would talk to me.
They should have the same standards everywhere, no matter where they go, regardless of what the laws of the different countries says. Their product tastes the same anywhere you go. They use the same formula to make it. How come they cannot use the same process to clean it?
Above all, Coca-Cola is about image, and it doesn't want its brand associated with these images. So Coca-Cola is going to spend $2 billion in the next year to convince you life tastes good.
Mr. Hadley.
Coca-Cola is a company whose horizons are endless and whose aspirations to sell fizzy drink limitless. You can get a Coca-Cola just about anywhere. They even tested a vending machine that works at 0 gravity. Perhaps forgetting that save the odd space station, there's no one there. But back on Earth, Coca-Cola is battling a consumer backlash against allegations the company is ethically out of order. Over the past 2 years, it has lost 4% of its brand value, which is the equivalent of $2 billion, which is the same amount of money the company is going to spend this year telling its consumers that its product just tastes better.
Mr. Hadley, would you like a Coke?
Never had one. What else haven't I done?
Experience is probably more to do with the high levels of the most consumed psychoactive drug in the world, caffeine. The next stop on the Coca-Cola challenge is Australia, where sensory scientist Dr. Russell Keast called for a total ban on marketing caffeinated colas to anyone under the age of 12.
Soft drink manufacturers shouldn't have anything to do with children. If we're talking about schools, any sponsorship of schools, any sales in canteens, any sponsorship of sports events, they shouldn't want to have anything to do with children. Again, comes back to a public health issue, and it's a very serious public health issue.
Dr. Keast is concerned not only with obesity linked to consumption of soft drinks by children, but by the high levels of caffeine contained in an average can of cola, including Coca-Cola.
It's okay for you and me to have caffeine. I've got nothing against caffeine or drinking coffee or drink cola. I think it's a problem when we're talking about children. The addition of caffeine to it may promote consumption. That's an added negative over and above the negative of soft drinks in general.
Every 330 millilitre can of Coke has 34.5 milligrams of caffeine. Diet Coca-Cola's even more. Dr. Keast says that's enough to stimulate cravings and alter behaviour in an adult, but give too much caffeinated cola to children and they can get a little hyperactive. Coca-Cola claims that caffeine is an integral part of its complex flavour. But Dr. Keast says he's done an experiment that shows we can't distinguish between caffeinated and non-caffeinated fizzy drinks.
Potentially the reason for it being in there is modification of consumer behaviour. Let's say if we took a 500ml cola beverage, that would contain enough caffeine to start to put you into a dependent state that caffeine can get you into.
Coca-Cola once said that capturing a high school consumer meant keeping them for 50 to 60 years. That's why endorsements from the likes of Girls Aloud and Wayne Rooney and Friends stars Courtney Cox are so important.
David, I'm in the kitchen. Can I get you anything?
What do you have?
A Coke.
This is a company that's been fined across the world for anti-competitive practices, paying a whopping $20 million after rigging drinks trials in Burger King. They even had a campaign called H2 No, and more recently, Cap the Tap, where Coca-Cola guides restaurants on how to suggestively sell fizzy pop over water. The company uses its $2 billion a year advertising budgets, so you can't escape its logo. From outer space to the London Underground, it's everywhere. It was even painted on the Himalayas, for which they were fined for environmental damage. So I'm on my way to Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, to have my head tested. This is where scientists have been studying consumers' emotional response to brands. First off, I'm doing the Coca-Cola Pepsi Challenge.
So here are 30 cups and 15 pairs. So in each pair, one cup is filled with Coke, the other with Pepsi, but you have no idea which is for which.
Okay. In this world, there are Pepsi people and Coca-Cola people. 1. And on taste, I'm a Coca-Cola person. 5. 8. This feels weird. I don't think I've drunk this much cola. This test, though, is to tell whether I can truly taste the difference between the two brands. I've just done the equivalent of a taste challenge, haven't I? Pepsi taste challenge.
You've just done the Pepsi challenge.
And how did I come out?
You came out square in the middle, came out just like everybody else. You had cups lined up in front of you. There was Coca-Cola in one and Pepsi-Cola in the other. You weren't told which was which. You tasted both and voted with your behavior. I like the one on the right, I like the one on the left, etc. And although, as I know, because we've had a conversation earlier, that you like Coca-Cola and would trade your money for it in a store, you came out absolutely neutral. You couldn't, your nervous system couldn't tell the difference between the two.
It turns out I can't taste the difference between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, just like the scores of others Dr. Montague has tested over the last 3 years. Yet I say I prefer Coke. To discover why I think I prefer Coca-Cola over Pepsi, Dr. Montague takes the experiment one step further and puts me inside a magnetic resonance scanner. Tubes feed Coke and Pepsi into my mouth while they flash Coke and Pepsi advertisements at me.
Okay, Mark, everything looks great. How do you feel? It's just gonna be a little bit, and whatever comes in your mouth, you're just gonna swallow, okay?
I may be drinking Coca-Cola, but watching a Pepsi ad, or the other way round. I don't know. But the scanner monitors which ads my brain responds to. And guess what? My brain lights up to the Coca-Cola advertisements, even though I may have been drinking Pepsi as I watched them.
It has never been the case that you were just drinking a fluid that had flavor. The flavor and the perception of it is a composite perception. It's built out of a lot of pieces of things, including the brand message and the other things that the brand message has been associated with.
I prefer Coke, but I can't tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi. The conclusion is, my brain prefers the taste of Coca-Cola's advertising. Brands actually have a taste.
Brands have a taste.
This kind of brain scanning to test the efficacy of advertising is called neuromarketing. Advertising folk call it the buy button. When it was revealed that some American companies had been conducting just these kind of experiments, it caused a furore because it suggested advertisers could insinuate messages into a person's brain. Coca-Cola has refused to confirm or deny it was one of those companies involved. We put all the allegations contained in this documentary to Coca-Cola, and they gave us this response.
We are appalled that this collection of inaccurate, biased and outdated allegations about the Coca-Cola Company is considered appropriate for broadcast. Just because an allegation is repeated over and over again does not make it true. The producers of this programme have done a great disservice to the thousands of honest men and women of the Coca-Cola system who work to serve and sustain their communities every day all around the world. We're not perfect, no organisation is, but we set high standards for our company and work hard to meet our commitments. Ask the farmer in India who now has water to irrigate his crops thanks to a reservoir that we have worked with the community to restore. We urge viewers to make up their mind about the Coca-Cola Company only after visiting our website www.gettherealfacts.co.uk for accurate information about how we contribute to sustainable communities around the world.
Coca-Cola is one of the most powerful brands on earth, yet it may have little to do with taste. If a person only has one drink left in their life, they will probably ask for a Coke. So the last stop on my Coca-Cola challenge is here, Death Row, where behind these red walls, prisoners are executed by lethal injection.
We're standing in front of the infamous Walls Unit, where I spent 11 and a half years of my life, 1989 to 2001. This is where the executions take place in the state of Texas.
For years, Brian's job inside was to prepare the final meal for prisoners about to be executed. The majority requested Coca-Cola. Some even asked for Diet Coke.
About 3/4 of the time when they requested something to drink for their last meal, Coca-Cola was what they wanted. Ordering a Coca-Cola, it takes them back. It really makes them think about the times that they had when they were kids or teenagers, when they were on a date or something, or sharing a Coke with their girlfriend with 2 straws. You know, I believe it's a comfort thing.
From childhood to death, the company wants your custom.
Meet somebody to love.
It is a message that is explicit in this advert. In Spanish, the viewer is asked, who will come to your funeral?
Somebody to love. Meet somebody to love. Somebody, 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 somebody.
The answer is, that depends on how you lived. Coca-Cola wants to promote the idea that it is there throughout all the significant moments of your life. Through friendship, through to the inevitable, always a constant companion. So how has Coca-Cola lived? If Coca-Cola's life flashed before its eyes, what would it see?
Can you do anything to halt the devastating effects of globalisation? Log on to channel4.com/dispatches now and join the live debate on this week's Dispatches Late Night and Live. Next, restoring the home of the God of Gothic. Time Team knock on Pugin's door.